Tension on the streets of the UK's capital remained high after a third night of rioting. The violence started after a protest about the death of Mark Duggan, who was shot dead by police, turned violent on Saturday. The disturbances were not limited to London on Monday night, with Birmingham, Bristol and Liverpool among the cities which saw groups of young men clash with police and vandalise and loot shops. Newspapers have led with headlines such as "Anarchy Spreads," "Rule of the Mob" and "The Battle for London." It has been serious enough for the Prime Minister David Cameron to cut short his holiday and recall Parliament, while sporting events have been cancelled, such as England's football game versus the Netherlands. One of the areas of London impacted by the rioting has been Hackney, and I'm joined by Adam Hart from HCD, which has been working with businesses in the area for almost 30 years. Adam, we've seen a lot of looting and damages to businesses. What sort of shops are being targeted?
It seems to be across the board, and for instance, Clarence Road in central Hackney has apparently, all the shops, which are small shops and small traders, have been attacked. So it's very indiscriminate. Further down in central Hackney, larger chain stores like JD Sports have been attacked, but there's clearly very indiscriminate what's happening. So there's no clear sort of political message.
And what was the situation like on the streets when you woke up this morning?
It is exceptionally quiet. Strangely enough, a lot of the residential permit car parking places are empty. It's much emptier. There's quite a number of shops and places which are staying closed, and there's we have no idea if the lid is being put on this situation in this area or not, or whether we will see anything later on today. We simply don't know.
What will the longer-term implications for places like Hackney be, which need investment?
The only thing to compare this to is the 1980s Brixton riots, although there are some similarities and some of the causal factors there are parallels. But the long-term consequences of the Brixton riots is that there was a very strong commitment from local businesses and from larger businesses and from the government to try and improve the area at lots of different levels, both in terms of social intervention, employment schemes, and support for local businesses and anti-discrimination strategies.
There's not a great deal of sympathy for the rioters at the moment, but essentially are you suggesting this mass violence is down to poor economic conditions for many Londoners?
Well, economics has got something to do with it, but single factor explanations are not appropriate here. The economic austerity program, all sorts of factors, some of which have been policy-led, some of which have just been happened through neglect of one sort or another. There are many other factors, and they all do interact. Massive unemployment and poor prospects for the 16 to 25-year-old age group, particularly amongst the black population. The failure of the Olympics to address any of these issues directly there's no significant employment gain for young people in Hackney. The Olympics was supposed to be all about social regeneration and help for the East End population, and we've not seen very much of that.
OK, thank you, Adam. There will be 16,000 police officers on the streets of London on Tuesday night, and so far more than 450 arrests have been made. Goodbye.